Hello, this is Gene. Today is transfer deadline day, but this video is really more directed at Mark Goldbridge and some of the shit he's going through right now, and my own personal beef that I have with him and certain things that I'll get to later in the video. Um, First of all, I've watched Mark probably since he had about 30,000 people on his channel, his first channel. Many times I've unsubscribed over him over the years, but I think the last 3 or 4 years I think I've been there. So I usually watch his commentary after the game because I think it's kind of interesting to watch somebody get so upset about things. Never ever really judged him in his fandom for Manchester United. He has continually talked about this through his entire YouTube career, that this is how he got involved being a fan of Manchester United, his grandfather and all that. And I just take it on his word. But there was something that came out from the Daily Mail saying that he is a Nottingham Forest fan, and he waited till United was shit, then he started his channel, and he uses all the negativity to make him more money. He has 5 channels, and it's probably grossed about $4 million a year, which is good for him. It's interesting to me because the people that really have a problem with him would say something like, he's just a dude in his basement and doing videos. Well, he's doing pretty well with it because he has some talent when it comes to this. He's got some sort of personality, and he could sell you something regardless. This is how he is. I mean, he was a cop before, but I think he'd be better as a salesman, and he's good at that. And he has a good mind when it comes to stuff like that, how to promote himself, and he's entertaining. And he said many, many times that he was going to probably stop doing the United Stand and just do the other stuff. And he could still do well because people will still watch him because he's somewhat entertaining. And you have to be a bit different than everything else that's on YouTube, right? And you got to give him all the props because he was the guy that said, I'm going to do this. And whether you think he did it because Manchester United has one of the 2 biggest fan bases in the world, and it'd be easy for him to do it in England and speak English because Manchester United is based in Britain, or then trying to do it for Real Madrid, saying that he never was linked to anybody Manchester United because he's a Forest fan. Still, it's a good idea, and he made it work. And I can remember when he was like, I can't wait till we get enough to fill the stadium for our subscribers to get to like 75,000, and he said, I'll just be happy at that. And then just the next 10 years, it got bigger and bigger and had other channels. And, he showed his different types of things he likes to do, and people latched onto that. And most of his content is not problematic at all. It's just someone being himself. And he probably is in a normal day-to-day type of thing of his life before that. He probably was that dude that people used to talk to him. And he kind of like, I'm not going to say he walked in and everybody looked at him, but I'm saying he's the kind of guy that has that type of personality, and he was just basically made for YouTube. There's nothing wrong with that. And he has all the opinions that he wants to say. The issue is people are saying that this Daily Mail has just called him out, and he's never been a Manchester United fan. And the reason why he did this because Manchester United was failing, and he just wanted to make money to market himself. And this guy used to be a cop, and the early stages of his career, and I don't know when this actually changed, but he would go work 9 to 5, come back, and then still do his show every fucking night. He kept trying to push it out. And if anybody thought that they were better, had a better personality, better storage of facts or whatever, could have done the same thing. And some people did. Nobody's ever never reached where he's at. And there are a lot of guys right now that basically will say, without Mark, I wouldn't be what I am right now. A lot of guys that were on his channel that he presented to the world have their own channels. Some of them still have issues with Mark, but it's all bullshit. If it was something really, really bad, we'd know about it. There'd be a book about it. I mean, Mark has already did a book about himself. I mean, the guy knows how to market himself. But the idea that people say he's not a fan, that's bullshit. He's not that good of an actor. I'm sorry, he's not. However, he makes a lot of bad takes, in my opinion, and that's why I do on this channel. I go back and I look at this, and probably over the years, I probably did about 10 videos on him. And each time I do this, I get people saying, You just want for clout, that you want to get. I'm like, what? I'm still under 1,000 subscribers. I'm still under 700 subscribers. I'm not looking for anything. You know, if 15,000 people watch my video and half are on my side and half are, look, the people that go after Mark and say, see, he was never a fan, with this Daily Mail thing came out, they have no idea who the man is, okay? I didn't realize he was 45. I knew he was early 40s. I knew he had to be. So he's still the same generation that I am. I am the oldest of the Generation X. I was born in 1965. It appears to me that he was probably born in either 1980 or 1978, 1979, and he's a younger Generation X. So sometimes I feel that I have to, as the big brother, have to bring him back off the ledge, which is what he does. The shit he did with Mason Greenwood, over the top. I had to call him out, and I did. Some of the other things he said about certain players. What he said about Shaw, how he rated him as a player when the guy always had issues with fitness-wise. I think that was one of my biggest videos I ever had, when I said that you know, he doesn't look like he's not in shape. And that's when he defended Shaw, and he said it's almost like fat shaming to say that to an athlete. I'm like, an athlete should never have an issue where they're carrying weight when you play soccer, for crying out loud. It's different when you play a boxing and you're like way bigger than somebody and you can carry some weight. We've had guys that are fat that have been champions. It's rare to have that when you're playing football or soccer. And it was a 50-50 on my channel. You had a lot of people that just listens to everything that Mark says and just spouse it out as gospel. And then the other issue I had with him, and I'll go to the other stuff I want to talk about today. There was a press conference today about Ten Hag, and he just went on him today. And he goes to the same type of cycle where he continually says, I'm in on all these managers, Van Gaal, Ole, even Ragnick for a while. And then he's, I'm in, and then all of a sudden he's not. But during the 6 or 8 months before that, if you just listen to what he has to say, he's very negative. And a lot of people gleaned on that, and they call him a cancer to the football team. Now, I don't think that Mark has that much influence when it comes to the actual structure of the team, the actual working of the thing. But last night, or a week ago, he said that he has no influence at all. And that's just, you can't say that, Mark. You can't. Because if we're going to call other people that are on YouTube or on social media, and we call them influencers, and they have less following than you do, you have 4 or 5 million people on all your different platforms that you're on, you have influence because you say this and this and buy this, and people buy shit based on your recommendation. You sold a lot of shit with the whole thing with the Weed Whacker, and you're selling your book, and you like to show people you can cook, and you're being an influencer that way. It doesn't mean that it really means anything to the actual team itself, but you are influencer. So if you sit there and say that this guy has to be out, you say something that I had this thing with Rasmus Højlund, and you know the firestorm that you have after you guys interviewed him, and everybody was after him because of this. Because again, it's weird because these are former players, and most of them always are. When you see the older dudes that are on Sky Sports and stuff, these are former players, not really journalists at all. They don't have what it costs to be, get your facts before you actually say it type of thing. And they say shit that they don't watch the game. So a lot of things I'm 100% with Mark is. Because Mark watches all this shit, and he has his own opinion, and that's great, he should have it. But the idea that he doesn't think he has any influence, of course he has. But he doesn't have in the inside of the fucking football team. If Rashford is upset because Mark said something about his play, and he goes on and he plays shit about it, that's on Rashford. That has nothing to do with Mark. Because all Mark is doing is he has his own thing. Now, does he have other thing behind it? Could it be influenced by something else to sell more shit? Maybe. When you get to this point, maybe you can. I don't think so. I think he's probably used merchandise and put Rashford's name on it. I don't think he hates Rashford or anybody on the team particularly. I think he has some problem with some of the characters on the team, like Jadon Sancho and what he's done, and some of the other people. Maguire when he wouldn't leave. And I had problems with that as well. Why would a player leave if he signed a contract and then the team wants to get rid of you, and he's only going to go back and get half what he's supposed to get, the player and the agent, of course, is going to want that money back. I mean, they signed that. They signed a contract on their side. Manchester United fucked up with those signings. And there are a lot of guys out there like Madam or FUTV that talked about this. People that was with Mark, right? And they've had their own thing. And he basically elevated those guys to something else, that they could stop their normal 9-to-5 job to have a full-time career on YouTube. And you would hope that most of those people will come back and say, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. Really, if Beth goes on and does something else, she's going to have to come back and say thank you to Mark. She would have to. So I'm not defending him. He's made a lot of bad takes, in my opinion, on certain things. Sometimes I feel like I have to go out and, of course, correct him. Of course, he never listens to my shit because I don't have any pull at all. I don't have no influence. But I'm still going to put it out there. I'm going to put his name on it, and I'm going to say this is what I believe. Is he a cancer to football? Of course not. Is he a cancer to Manchester United? Of course not. The players have to do better. They signed the contract. They're supposed to do at least what they're supposed to do in that contract. And we haven't really seen that with Manchester United in a long time. Now, the first 2 games of the season, him and I are going to have a different belief system when it comes to this. I think we played pretty well. Now, again, we're playing a certain way that we don't get run out in the midfield. We can't do that against Liverpool because Mount is out. But I think that we could have easily won both of those games 3-0. And when I get people like Beth or something that's on their show and he's saying that we just can't score, well, we had 3 balls go into the goal. And against Brighton, 2 of them were Drew's ruled out because of offside. One was just bad luck. You can't blame Xerxes for trying to go and do something. You know, he's trying to be involved in doing stuff. And I thought he played really, really well when he came on. He just linked up the play really well, and I think he's going to be very, very important. And the question is, what happens when Rasmus comes back? Do you put a 4-4-2 almost? I think maybe those 2 would be good up there against each other. I think that's an interesting type of play to go, and we'll see what happens with that. But, yeah, I think we played pretty well, and I think that we deserved probably 6 points. Worst should have been 4. Both games, you know, yeah, Brighton hit the post. Other than that, they didn't really do anything the entire game. This team usually is considered very good with the ball at their feet. Now, the bigger test will be against Liverpool. I think we played well against City too, but I don't really look at that. So, today, this is the first press conference before a Liverpool game, and he was obviously looking for a transcript, so he's not watching the video because it wasn't really been out there yet. So I watched the video after this, not to go on here and start saying shit and go after Mark because he said stupid shit. But he had a couple of really issues today with Ten Hag, and the one about McTominay, and basically saying that apparently from the transcript to him, he thought that meant that Ten Hag didn't want to get rid of him, and he was like just holding on to Scott, and we cannot let him go. And then he brought up the fact that because of the rules, we have to sell him because under FFP or homegrown and all that. And Mark's like, this is all bullshit. It's not true. It's not true. It's not true. And like he knows the rules, and Ashworth and Barrera doesn't understand the rules when it comes to stuff like this. Clearly, there has to be something in the rules that says if you sell your homegrown talent from your academy all the way up, that you probably get some sort of deduction when it comes to it. And so that 20 million might actually be 30 or 40 million when you look at the entire thing when you're putting things together. And he said, I can't believe that's just all bullshit. It's wrong. And he's looking at this crash strip and basically saying that it's clear that Ten Hag didn't want him to go. Then you watch the actual video, and he said the deal was good for everybody. It was great for us. It was good for McTominay, the smile on his face. He's going to go and he's going to have a good time there. And it was good for us as well. He said, but the rules are what the rules. And, we had to do it. He said it was good for everybody. So it's one of those weird things. When you're looking at a transcript and then you actually look at the video, sometimes it's different. You have to see the inflection of the people, what they're saying. And he didn't do that, and I think that was poor on his part. Now, he does, every time he has a press conference, he responds to it, and he doesn't see the video, and this is what he does. But he's like doing this shit, and he just wanted him to keep it, and I'm like, then then he started saying how he was at the club for 22 years, and they're like, he shouldn't talk like that. I'm like, or he's got Manchester United DNA going through his blood, and I'm like, why can't he say that? He's been there since he's 5 years old, 22 years. And that's the very least he should say about Manchester, or for Scott McTominay. He's been in the first team since forever, and he's did everything he could do. Is he not good enough? Probably not. But if a team was actually built around him, we might as well have something else. If he allowed him actually to be a box-to-box defender or at midfielder, who knows what he could have done? If there was somebody behind him that could just, real like Ugarte behind him, maybe who knows what McTominay would have done? Maybe they got 15 goals a year. We don't know this because he had to play a position that really wasn't good, really wasn't setted for him, and he did it. And why every other coach that's come in there have always said the same things about Scott, but Mark Goldbridge still said he's not good enough. These are guys that have won Champions Leagues, the Premiership, have won other titles in other leagues around the world, coached World Cup teams, but apparently Mark knows more than these guys. And then you get things come out saying that he's a teacher's pet. I mean a player that listens to the coach and does what the coach asks you to do. Okay, that's just where we're at with this generation right now. I just think that it was over the top about what Ten Hag actually said about Scott McTominay. They clearly should have did a tribunal for him at some point in the future. He has to be. He's almost, when you think of how long he's been here, he's almost like the guys from 1992 teams, like Scholes and Giggs, the guys that stayed, Neville, guys that stayed here for fucking ever. And he definitely needs to, he's not a legend per se, but he's a really good player that gave everything for the club. And I think he's doing really well in Serie A. And people say it's not the same league level. No, it's how we play in the Premiership compared to those how they play in Serie A. The idea that AC Milan or Inter or Juventus can't win at the highest level, they have. So they've been in a Champions League final before in our lifetime. In the last 10 years, they've been there. So the idea that can't happen again is just stupid. There are a lot of years that Juve got knocked out because the eventual champion was Madrid. And so they were one of the top 4 or 5 teams in the world, and they came from the Serie A. So I think that was wrong on his part. Again, I have to bring him off the ledge. Hopefully he'll look at the actual video today and say what he said was over the top. Why shouldn't a coach sit there and say that about him? There was nothing that he said that was wrong. And at the end of the day, he said it was good for everybody. He didn't say it was good for Scott, but it wasn't good for us. He said it was good for everybody involved. That should have been it right there. And everything he says after that, we hate to see him to go. He had the lifeblood of Manchester United. Clearly he did. He was there for 22 fucking years, man. You got to give him some sort of credit for that. That's all I got to say on that. And the other thing, this over-the-top reaction to Brighton that's going to feed into this other statement is that he thinks that he had 4 or 5 mistakes that he did against Brighton. First of all, he believes that Mount shouldn't scored or shouldn't started. That maybe Xerxes should have scored or started, and also De Ligt should have started over Maguire. Without knowing what Ten Hag knows by looking at these players and seeing their fitness levels, because they put shit on them to see what they feel like after 20, 30 minutes of actually running around, that they made a decision that he wasn't ready to go play the entire game, so they sit him down. Same thing with Xerxes. And I think that both, when they came in, played well. I think he was 100% right with that. The only issue that I had the entire game is that he took Bruno off. That's it. It's one of those weird things because Bruno was actually carving them up a little bit on the break, and I didn't understand that play. per se. That was kind of weird to me. I didn't know if something was going on with him, maybe. But looking at Bruno, I don't think it was. So that didn't lose the game for us. It was just bad defending on the after the set piece. The second or third variation after that set piece, we couldn't get the ball out. We had the ball at the ground, and we didn't knock it all the way out, and it stayed there and eventually got to another player, and he put it in, and we weren't there. That's just bad defending. That's just an individual error. That's fine margins, and that's unfortunate. And it's happened a lot when we play Brighton. I think after the last 3 or 4 years that we played Brighton, I think that was our best shown against them. Even the games we've won, I think that was the best we played against them. And I think a lot of it has to do with Mount. And we'll see. I think that Mount actually is very valuable in the system if our players could actually finish the chances. Again, we should have 3 or 4 against Fulham. We had 3 that went in the net. Only got 1 counted against Brighton. So the idea that we're not in positions that can't score, we just got to actually finish those scores. And then he goes on and says about what about Rashford, and he said that Shearer's comment was stupid. Well, Ten Hag listened to the statement, and that had probably a minute where he talked about it, and said at the end, that's just stupid analysis. He didn't call Shearer stupid. He said the analysis about taking him out for the reason why he took him out was stupid analysis. So it's when you're looking at a transcript and you put some meaning into it because you haven't seen the video, that's not good, right? That's not how you should actually report stuff. He said nothing wrong there at all. He listened to what the reporter said. He responded to it. He said that it's going to be a long season. There could be times they're going to take him out. And when you bring new players in, you hope that they're going to freshen up and we're going to go for the win. And that's what he decided. Like I said, the only thing I had was when he took out Bruno, because he took away your creative force. And I do not believe we brought in McTominay for him, I think. If you're going to take out Bruno at that situation, then you bring in Eriksen, because they were so scared, and because we're just breaking them on the break, that I think that if you put Eriksen there, he might actually have a pass and we win. But we had 3 or 4 really good chances in the second half to win that game. And we've had this issue for a while, but this year it's a little different because we had control of both those games, and we should have easily put it away. Now, yeah, you can sit there and say that these selections or these decisions are going to cost his job. That's fair. But to have some sort of nefarious intent when he's talking about, I wanted to keep Scott, when he clearly said it was good for everybody involved. And let's talk about the rules, and I think it's kind of weird when it comes to homegrown talent. There must be something in the FFP that says if you do this, that it helps them down the road when it comes to looking at the budget and when you actually have to report. There must be. You can't have somebody on YouTube who has no idea what he's talking about and says that's wrong. That the guy that runs or is the manager of one of the biggest teams in the world is saying there's a rule issue here, and he's telling, Mark is saying that no, he's wrong. If he doesn't bring out the fucking rules and said this is what happens when you have somebody you have in your academy, and if you get this, then if you sell them for 25 million, then it's really like 35 million. And I'm sure there's probably something like that. You probably get some sort of benefit by doing this. And I think that's probably what he's talking about. And the other thing is, and I don't want to defend Ten Hag because he's made, in my mind, some bad decisions at certain things. He has a problem with English language as well. So you can't always believe everything to come out if it's actually 100% that's what he means. It all started with Jadon Sancho when he's saying, well, we have to, you have to be right, you have to be train hard and all that stuff, and if you're not there, then you're not going to be selected. And he thought that he was a slack against him. Everybody could be trying, but you're still not good enough. You're going to be sitting on the bench. You're not going to be starting at all. And this is how it's always been. And he's I'm ten hog in and all this stuff, but but look, you can have your. There is no reason why we lost those games, and he said that after the show. We played well enough to win both those games. So how's it on the manager if we lose? I think you can make the statement by taking out Bruno that we lost a little bit in that game, and we did. Okay, but sometimes you have to make that chance. You have to do it. And the guy that has been able to come off the bench and get goals at the end of games has been Scott. And if we have control of the game, maybe we get something. Maybe on a corner kick or something like that. The problem is that we lost control of the game at that time, and that is a fair criticism of that game. But the fact that he had 4 or 5 changes in that game, trying to win that game, I have no issue with that at all. Not at all. I have no problem that they brought Delict in late in the game. We got bigger and bigger, and in my mind, the idea was we're going to get a corner kick. We're going to have these guys up. We're bigger than they are, and we're going to put it down. And I didn't think that I really had no doubt that we were going to stop all the corner kicks on their side. I didn't realize that once the ball got past all that we couldn't control it after that. Anthony was trying to go down the field to get the ball to get the counterattack. He didn't stay where he was. And then we had a lot of guys that were just following the ball, almost like what you did when you're 6 years old, and open up the back post. But if anybody would have just went after the guy from him crossing it, maybe if we just pressure him, he makes a bad pass and we get the draw there. It doesn't really matter. What all really matters is that we have to beat Liverpool on Sunday, have to show that we can win. I don't care if they have 80% of the ball. We have to win the game. It hurts that we don't have Ugarte, and we don't have Mount there, because I think Mount would have started again. I think it would have been the same type of game. I think that DeLitt would have came in for Maguire, but I think it would have been pretty much the same to try to hold them and try to get something on the break. It's going to be different now, and I really like what I see from Xerxes. I think that he's got a lot of power, a lot of big, strong, wide, passes the ball well, holds onto the ball well. It's going to be very, very interesting to see what he does, and I think he might have a lot of assists this year if our guys can just finish the ball. I mean, Garnacho should have 2 goals this year. He should be right there. Rashford should have 2. Bruno should have 2. But somehow we just, and these are not half chances. These are full chances that are almost open goals. We've had 2 open goals that Garnacho should have got scored from. So the idea that we're a lot different than we were last year. And people, if you don't see that, you're not really seeing what's happening. And again, we're leveling up now, right? I don't look at City what we did in the Community Shield, but Liverpool's a different challenge. And I expect it's going to be a good game. I think personally we're at the same level as Liverpool is, regardless of what everybody else thinks. I think that there's City and Arsenal and the rest of the team between Liverpool all the way down to Aston Villa are very, very close. So we'll see how that works. Hopefully we win. I think we're going to win 2-1, hopefully 3-1. If we just take our chances and we don't do anything stupid, a shot comes in that Onana should save and it goes underneath, shit like that. We got to do it. Let me see if there's anything else I want to talk about. I think I covered everything. Again, just to say this. First of all, Mark is not a cancer to the online fandom or Manchester United. I think he's a personality that he's made a lot of money out of all this, but he's still a fan. And sometimes people need to respond to what he has to say. He'll never talk to me, but if I ever have a chance to sit down and have a conversation with him, I will. I think that he reacts somewhat too much for somebody his age. But again, that's how he made his money. And if he was so bad, somebody else should have done it first. I mean, YouTube was there. He decided to do it. He did everything he do so he could get away from the job that he had to now do something he loved, that he was passionate about. That now people they just want to say things about him, and I just don't like that. However, he's a public figure. If he says something on the internet that's stupid, in my opinion, I'm going to call it out. He does it all the time. It's not like I do it every fucking day, but it's one of those things. If you're supposed to report the news, and I know the news is now everything's fake news, right? And you have a transcript of something, and you listen to it, and you think somehow you can get some sort of, you can understand what that actually means. Without, if there's a video out there and you don't look at it, I think that's poor. I think there's nothing that Ten Hag said here that was wrong, and this idea that he was holding on the fact that we have to keep Scott McTominay when he clearly said it was best for everybody involved, and also he's saying that what he said about Shearer and all that, and because Rashford's been trash, or he's been playing poor. That's not true either. I think there were a couple times in that game that I thought that Rashford had a chance to do something and he didn't do it. That's just confidence. Everybody knows when you're lacking a little bit of confidence, that's what that is. But I've seen a lot of change on him. He's actually passing the ball a lot more. He's playing a lot better in my opinion. He should have scored. I never even saw the replay of that when the ball came back off his foot and went in. I have not even seen the replay. Maybe he was off by half a foot. And apparently, he's talking about people being off by 4 or 5 yards. I didn't hear that in the video at all. And if Shearer said that, that's not true. We were off by inches. So anyway, I'm going to stop right there. I might do a job or a video tomorrow, talk about who's going to play. I think it's going to be fairly clear at this point. I think it's going to be Mazraoui, De Ligt, Martinez, Delot, Manu. I can see his face. Casemiro, Bruno, Rashford, Xerxes, probably Ahmad. I don't think Ahmad's played very well, but he might be a very important player here. It allows Garnacho to come in early on and replace any of those people. But I would be shocked if Garnacho starts too. Because Rashford has a really good record against Liverpool. So I think he's probably going to start. Ooh, that's a big butterfly. I still have a 2-1. I don't think we can shut them out. Although we did well. Actually, they scored 5 goals against us in 3 games. So we'll see. We'll talk to you guys about it later. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.